Welcome to the Real Crime Diary, Daily Dose of Crime. I'm your host, MHB, and today we're diving into a case that left even seasoned investigators scratching their heads. What happens when a seemingly simple crime turns into a national headline? Buckle up, crime enthusiasts, as we unravel the shocking twists and turns of a case that proves truth is indeed stranger than fiction. In the quiet town of Gibson County, Indiana, a seemingly ordinary divorce proceeding took a dark and tragic turn. Our story centers on Daniel Flaherty, a 42-year-old man, and his wife Kayla, who was 36. The couple was in the midst of ending their marriage when events spiraled into a nightmare. On the night of October 3rd, 2024, Daniel Flaherty reported his wife missing. He claimed Kayla had left their home, intending to visit her mother, but never arrived. This simple report set off a chain of events that would shock the community. At first glance, it appeared to be a routine missing persons case. The Gibson County Sheriff's Office began their investigation, following standard procedures. Little did they know they were about to uncover a chilling truth that would turn this missing persons case into something far more sinister. As the investigation into Kayla Flaherty's disappearance unfolded, detectives quickly realized that something wasn't adding up. Daniel's story about his wife heading to her mother's house began to crumble under scrutiny. Cell phone records painted a different picture, showing that Kayla had never even left the vicinity of their home on the night in question. With mounting pressure from law enforcement, Daniel's facade started to crack. The truth, as it often does, came to light in a series of shocking revelations. Confronted with the inconsistencies in his account, Daniel finally broke down and confessed to the unthinkable. In a chilling admission, he revealed that he had struck Kayla with a hammer in their own living room, ending her life in a moment of violent rage. But the horror didn't end there. In a desperate attempt to cover his tracks, Daniel took steps that would make even the most hardened investigator shudder. As the full extent of his actions came to light, investigators were left to piece together a tragic puzzle of betrayal and violence. The question that now hung in the air was no longer, what happened to Kayla? But rather, how could this have happened at all? Now, let's delve into the chilling details of this horrific crime. According to Daniel's confession, the fatal incident took place in the living room of their shared home. In a moment of uncontrolled rage, Daniel allegedly struck Kayla with a hammer, causing her death. The brutality of this act is truly shocking, especially considering their history as a married couple. But the gruesome tale doesn't end there. After taking Kayla's life, Daniel's next steps were calculated and cold. He placed her lifeless body into her own SUV, perhaps thinking this would buy him time before anyone noticed her absence. Then, in an attempt to cover his tracks, he drove the vehicle to Knox County. Once there, Daniel's actions became even more desperate. He set the SUV on fire, hoping to destroy any evidence linking him to the crime. As the flames engulfed the vehicle, he pushed it into the Wabash River, where he believed it would remain hidden indefinitely. However, Daniel's attempts to conceal his actions were ultimately futile. Following his confession, authorities were able to locate and retrieve the submerged vehicle from the depths of the Wabash River. When they pulled it from the water, their worst fears were confirmed. Kayla's body was found inside, providing irrefutable evidence of the terrible crime that had taken place. Following Daniel's confession, law enforcement acted swiftly. On October 4th, just a day after Kayla was reported missing, Daniel Flaherty was arrested and charged with murder. He's currently being held without bond in the Gibson County Jail, a stark reminder of the severity of the charges against him. The investigation, however, is far from over. Detectives are still piecing together the timeline of events and gathering additional evidence to build a solid case for prosecution. It's a meticulous process, ensuring no stone is left unturned in the pursuit of justice for Kayla. The tragedy of this situation cannot be overstated. What began as a divorce, already a difficult and emotional process, ended in the most devastating way possible. It's a somber reminder of how domestic disputes can escalate to unthinkable levels, leaving families shattered and communities in shock. As we delve deeper into this case, we need to consider the legal and ethical implications that arise. Daniel Flaherty's defense team will have their work cut out for them. They might explore various strategies, such as claiming temporary insanity or arguing that the act was committed in the heat of passion. However, the premeditated nature of concealing the crime could make these defenses challenging to pursue. This case also forces us to confront some uncomfortable truths about domestic violence. How many warning signs were missed? Were there opportunities for intervention that could have prevented this tragedy? It's a stark reminder of the importance of recognizing and addressing the early signs of domestic conflict. Moreover, this case raises questions about the divorce process itself. Could there be ways to better support couples going through this emotionally charged experience? Should there be more robust systems in place to identify and mitigate potential risks during divorce proceedings? Ultimately, this tragic event serves as a grim reminder of the devastating consequences when domestic disputes escalate to violence. It underscores the critical need for better awareness, education, and intervention strategies to prevent similar incidents in the future. Now, I'd like to hear from you, our listeners. What are your thoughts on this tragic case? Do you think there were warning signs that could have prevented this outcome? Or was this a situation that was destined to spiral out of control? Perhaps you have insights from similar cases or personal experiences that could shed light on this complex issue. Your perspectives are valuable, and I encourage you to share them in the comments section of this episode. Let's keep the conversation going and learn from each other as we try to understand and prevent such heartbreaking events in the future. As we wrap up today's episode of the Real Crime Diary Daily Dose of Crime, let's take a moment to reflect on the shocking case of Daniel Flaherty. What began as a missing person report quickly unraveled into a tale of domestic tragedy, leaving a community stunned and a family torn apart. We've walked through the events that led to Kayla Flaherty's untimely death, from the initial disappearance to the grim discovery in the Wabash River. The confession of Daniel Flaherty paints a chilling picture of how quickly a domestic dispute can escalate to the unthinkable. This case serves as a stark reminder of the potential dangers lurking within troubled relationships. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about the nature of domestic violence and the red flags we might be missing in our own communities. As the legal proceedings against Daniel Flaherty continue, we're left to ponder the complexities of the human psyche and the devastating consequences of unchecked emotions. How could a divorce proceeding lead to such a horrific outcome? What support systems failed, and how can we strengthen them to prevent future tragedies? If you've been affected by this story or know someone who might be in a similar situation, please remember that help is available. Reach out to local domestic violence hotlines or support groups. Sometimes, a single conversation can be the first step towards safety and healing. For those of you following this case, I encourage you to subscribe to our podcast. We'll be providing updates as the trial unfolds, offering insights into the legal strategies and potential outcomes. Remember, true crime isn't just about sensational stories. It's about learning from these tragedies to create a safer society. Your engagement with these issues matters. By staying informed and vigilant, we can all play a part in preventing future crimes. Thank you for listening to today's episode of The Real Crime Diary Daily Dose of Crime. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and keep the conversation going. Together, we can shed light on the darkest corners of human behavior and work towards a world with less crime and more understanding.